Obsession isn't intensity, it's narrowing. And it's one of the most powerful engines in storytelling. My name is Jack Lawrence. I'm an award-winning and best-selling mystery writer and former therapist. And on this channel, we talk about psychology and systemic theories that can bring life and depth to your characters and your stories. So let's start with the grassroots. What really is obsession? Obsession, usually in a clinical setting or a clinical perspective, comes from when uncertainty meets an emotional reward. Control feels threatened, right? That's a big one. And identity attaches to an outcome. Who am I who am I if this happens? What does this outcome mean about me or tell the world about me? How does it justify or validate these beliefs that I have? And a lot of times that's where obsession is born, right? You get obsessed with making money because if you fall below a certain income, it means something negative toward you, your family, your ability to provide, whatever it is. Same with weight, health, whatever the obsession is, there's always some sort of identity attached to it. And without it, right, there's a loss of control, and without control, you feel threatened. And so that's what's trying to be avoided in those scenarios. So what makes it so powerful, and why when you introduce obsession, readers really struggle to pull away or look away? Well, one, it escalates the stakes considerably, right? Because now the person is so engulfed and focused on this one goal, this one thing, and the stakes, if they fail, are incredibly high. There's also a moral erosion. People are going to throw their moral compass kind of out the window when they become obsessed, and this one goal, this one thing is the only thing they're focused on. They're ultimately going to get this goal no matter what, and be damned to anybody or anything that stands in the way. The tunnel vision is part of that. It narrows in, brings the scope very shallow so that they're focused on this one thing. Again, moral compass goes out of the window. Who are they going to hurt? How are they going to hurt somebody? It could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be themselves, it could be somebody else. There's a lot of room there to kind of play with on how this obsession is going to impact this character, probably pretty negatively. And because of that, and the promise or the idea that this person might collapse as a result, or their whole world is going to crumble, it creates tension and drama, and the reader just can't look away. It draws them in. And that's what makes doom scrolling so popular. But so when writing obsession, it's important to remember that it kind of happens in steps. Nobody wakes up just instantly obsessed with something. There's a rational focus is kind of the first step. Justified sacrifice, distorted priorities, and then the identity takeover, where this obsession becomes a part of who they are. And until it's breached, solved, whatever, that's the only thing they're going to focus on. Now, when it comes to writing and building your character and kind of creating that story, you don't necessarily have to include all of those steps. You don't have to show the character going from A to B. If it feels melodramatic to you, then it's probably melodramatic to the author or to the reader. And the problem there is that when it becomes melodramatic, the reader's going to lose interest. Not necessarily in the story, but probably in the character. They don't care that this person isn't able to go through these processes. When it starts becoming melodramatic, they almost root against the character. Sometimes that's beneficial, but almost 90% of the time or more, it's not. You want the reader focused and rooting for that main character. So if it feels melodramatic to you, it's going to feel melodramatic to them. Go ahead and skip those steps and just focus in on the distorted priorities and the identity takeover. So then what does that look like then when you write it? So you're going to show things like them missing meals, ignoring relationships, their world shrinking in on them. Again, you're going to show this. When I say show, I don't mean Bob skipped lunch to work on XYZ. Make it very subtle but powerful by showing that this person is so enveloped and so focused in on this goal and this thing that they're obsessed with that the character starts to, or the reader starts to realize, this character hasn't eaten. They haven't slept in a while. Several days have passed in the story and they haven't gone to bed, right? That's one way you can really show that obsession starting to grow. You can paint it with how other people in the characters' lives, friends, family, co-workers, how those relationships are being abandoned or completely ignored for the sake of this goal. So if you found this information useful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that every week you can get more psychology and systemic therapy facts, tips, and tricks to help bring life and depth to your characters and your stories.